Yuan, let's break up. Shun Yin's voice was soft, yet like a knife. It pierced straight into his heart with deadly precision. He froze, his fingers instinctively tracing the ring box in his pocket. The diamond ring he had spent months preparing now seemed like nothing more than a cruel joke. Why? He heard himself ask, his voice hoarse. Shun Yin turned her face away, refusing to look at him. I've fallen in love with someone else. He's coming back to the country next month. Zhou Yuan carefully tucked the ring box into his pocket, only to resist the urge to take it out for one last look. The diamond ring sparkled with fragmented light in the sunshine, mirroring his own jubilant mood. 3 years. He and Shun Yin had been together for 3 whole years. Today was her birthday, and he had decided to surprise her. Yuan, what are you standing there grinning about? Shun Yin's voice drifted from the kitchen, accompanied by the crisp clatter of a spatula against the wok. Nothing, just thought the sunlight was particularly nice today. Zhou Yuan shoved the ring box back into his pocket and walked toward the kitchen. Shun Yin was wearing the pale blue apron he had bought for her. Her hair was tied up loosely in a ponytail, with a few stray strands framing her face, swaying gently with the motion of her stir-frying. He walked over and wrapped his arms around her from behind, resting his chin on her shoulder. What are you making? Your favorite braised pork ribs. Shun Yin turned her head and planted a light kiss on his cheek. Go wash your hands. It's almost ready. Zhou Yuan didn't move. Instead, he held her tighter. He could smell the faint scent of shampoo in her hair mingled with the aroma of cooking. This ordinary mixture of scents filled him with an immense sense of contentment. He imagined the proposal scene to come, and his heart raced. What's got into you today? You're so clingy. Shun Yin laughed, gently nudging him with her elbow. I just suddenly felt how lucky I am to have met you. Zhou Yuan whispered, his voice thick with tenderness. Shun Yin paused for a second, but quickly resumed her movements. Stop being so cheesy and go wash your hands. At the dinner table, Zhou Yuan tried to speak several times, but swallowed his words. You want to wait for the perfect moment. Shun Yin seemed distracted too, picking at the food in her bowl with her chopsticks, but barely eating. Nian, is something on your mind? Zhou Yuan finally asked, unable to hold back. Shun Yin put down her chopsticks, took a deep breath, and looked up to meet his eyes. Yuan, I have something to tell you. Zhou Yuan's heart suddenly lurched. Her expression was too serious, giving him a bad feeling. He subconsciously touched the ring box in his pocket, as if it were a talisman. Let's break up. Shun Yin's voice was soft, but it slammed into Zhou Yuan's heart like a sledgehammer. What? He doubted his own ears. Today isn't April Fool's Day. This isn't a funny joke. It's not a joke. Shun Yin's eyes flickered for a moment before turning resolute. I've fallen in love with someone else. Zhou Yuan felt a wave of dizziness. He stared intently at Shun Yin's face, searching for any trace of a jest, but her expression was as cold and hard as stone. Who? He heard his own voice, so dry it sounded foreign. Lin Xing, my childhood neighbor. My first love. Shun Yin lowered her eyes. He's coming back from the States next month. We made a promise that we'd be together once he finished his studies and returned. Lin Xing. Zhou Yuan repeated the unfamiliar name. You've never mentioned him before. Because that was my pain. Shun Yin's voice was frighteningly calm. When I was 15, his family immigrated to the U.S., and we were forced to separate. For the past 10 years, we've kept in touch. I just never told you. Zhou Yuan felt a surge of absurdity. He stood up abruptly, his chair scraping harshly against the floor. 3 years. We've been together for 3 years, and you never mentioned him. Now you suddenly tell me he's your true love. I am sorry. Shun Yin looked up, tears shimmering in her eyes. I thought I could forget him, but I couldn't. Every time you were good to me, it reminded me of him. It was torture for me. Zhou Yuan felt a sharp pain. He took a step back, as if scorched by her words. So for the past 3 years, I was just a replacement. It's not like that. Shun Yin seemed to want to explain, but stopped herself. But that is the result. Yuan, you deserve someone better. Someone who loves you with their whole heart. Zhou Yuan felt the ring box in his pocket like a red-hot coal, searing against his thigh. He couldn't believe any of this. Just an hour ago, he was happily planning their future, but now, she had destroyed everything with a few light words. Give me a reason. A real reason. Zhou Yuan's voice was low and dangerous. I don't believe in some suddenly appearing childhood sweetheart. Did I do something wrong? Shenyan shook her head, tears finally sliding down her face. You didn't do anything wrong. It's me. I can't keep deceiving you anymore. Lin Xing is the one I truly love. From 15 until now, that has never changed. Then why didn't you say so sooner? Why waste 3 years of my time? Zhou Yuan almost roared, feeling a suffocating pain. Because I thought time could change everything. Shenyan wiped away her tears, her voice suddenly becoming calm. But I was wrong. Yuan, please move out. Lin Xing is coming back next month, and I don't want him to misunderstand. Zhou Yuan stood there, feeling the blood in his entire body freeze. He stared at Shen Yin's face, this face he had loved for 3 years, which now looked terrifyingly like a stranger's. He suddenly laughed, the sound full of bitterness. Fine. Very good. I'll leave. He turned and walked toward the bedroom, beginning to mechanically pack his things. Clothes, books, toiletries. Every single item reminded him of the bits and pieces of the last 3 years. Shen Yin stood at the door, quietly watching him pack, neither helping nor asking him to stay. Zhou Yuan occasionally looked up to meet her eyes. Inside them was an emotion he couldn't read. It looked like sadness, yet also like relief. Keep this, Zhou Yuan said, placing the apartment key on the coffee table, his voice hoarse. I've paid the rent through the end of the year. Thank you, Shen Yin said softly. Zhou Yuan stood at the door, holding his suitcase, and took one last look at her. I wish you happiness, he said, then left without looking back. The moment the elevator doors closed, Zhou Yuan leaned against the cold metal wall and finally allowed his tears to flow. He took out the small ring box and opened it. The diamond still sparkled under the elevator lights, but it could no longer shine into his heart. 3 months later, Zhou Yuan's life had ostensibly returned to normal. He moved into a new apartment. His work performance remained excellent, and he even started accepting blind dates introduced by colleagues. It was just that every night, when he lay in bed alone, Shen Yin's shadow would always come uninvited. When his phone rang abruptly late one night, Zhou Yuan had just finished a shower. The screen displayed an unknown number. Hello. He answered, his voice carrying the annoyance of being disturbed. Zhou Yuan, a female voice questioned sharply. I'm Su Yuan, Shen Yin's best friend. Zhou Yuan's heart skipped a beat. Su Yuan, that girl who was always smiling, Shen Yin's best friend? They had eaten together a few times. But now, her voice was filled with anger. Su Yuan, is something wrong? He tried to stay calm. Is something wrong? Su Yuan's voice trembled with rage. Shen Yin is lying in the hospital dying right now. And you bastard, you actually abandoned her when she needed you most. Zhou Yuan felt a wave of dizziness. He had to hold onto the wall to keep from falling. What? Shen Yin is in a hospital? What happened to her? Stop playing dumb. Su Yuan almost screamed. 3 months ago, on the very day she was diagnosed with terminal cancer, you broke up with her. Do you know how she spent these last 3 months? Chemotherapy, vomiting, losing her hair. And you didn't even call once. Zhou Yuan's world collapsed in that instant. His fingers gripped the phone tightly, his knuckles turning white. Cancer? No. That's impossible. She told me she fell in love with someone else, someone named Lin Xing. Lin Xing? Su Yuan's voice suddenly became confused. What Lin Xing? Shen Yin has never mentioned anyone by that name. Both ends of the line fell into a terrifying silence. Zhou Yuan felt a bone-chilling cold rise from the soles of his feet and spread through his entire body. Su Yuan, his voice was trembling uncontrollably. Shen Yin. When was she diagnosed? The morning of the day you broke up. Su Yuan's voice suddenly dropped low. She called you right after she got back from the hospital. Wait, are you saying she broke up with you because of some Lin Xing? Zhou Yuan's legs suddenly lost their strength, and he slid down to sit on the floor, the phone nearly slipping from his hand. She told me. She fell in love with her childhood sweetheart Lin Xing. Said he was coming back to the country. That's impossible, Su Yuan said firmly. I've been friends with Shen Yin since elementary school. She never had a childhood sweetheart named Lin Xing. Zhou Yuan's mind raced, piecing together all the fragments. Her sudden breakup, that Lin Xing he had never heard of before, the glint of tears in her eyes. It was all a lie, a cruel lie, filled with love. Which hospital is she in? Zhou Yuan almost roared the words, no longer caring if the neighbors would complain. City Central Hospital, Oncology Department, 7th floor, room 712. Su Yuan's voice was filled with confusion. Zhou Yuan, what on earth happened? But Zhou Yuan had already hung up. He grabbed his keys and dashed out the door. The elevator was too slow, so he flew down the stairs. His heart pounded wildly in his chest, feeling as if it were about to burst through his ribs. The night wind messed up his hair, and the streetlights streaked into long trails of light in his vision. Zhou Yuan hailed a taxi and hoarsely gave the hospital's address. "Please hurry. I'm begging you," he said to the driver, his voice filled with an urgency he had never felt before. The city nightscape outside the window blurred into a haze. Zhou Yuan's fingernails dug deep into his palms, but he felt no pain. The scene of the breakup kept replaying in his mind. The resolve in Shun Yin's eyes wasn't because she didn't love him, but because she loved him too much. She loved him enough to let him hate her rather than let him watch her die. Why? Why didn't you tell me the truth? He murmured, tears streaming down uncontrollably. The taxi screeched to a halt at the hospital entrance. Zhou Yuan threw down a bill and bolted out. The lights in the emergency room were blinding, and the smell of disinfectant hit him in the face. He rushed to the elevator, frantically pressing the button. Every second of waiting felt like torture. The corridor on the 7th floor was empty, with only the light at the nurse's station still on. Zhou Yuan ran toward room 712, but came to an abrupt halt at the door. Through the small window, he saw Su Yuan and a frail figure on the bed. His hand hung in midair. He suddenly lost the courage to push the door open. 3 months. For 3 whole months, Shun Yin had borne the pain alone, while he had actually believed the lie she concocted and hadn't even tried to win her back. Taking a deep breath, Zhou Yuan gently pushed the door open. The light in the room was dim. Su Yuan turned her head, her eyes red and swollen. Seeing Zhou Yuan, she stood up with a complicated expression. "You're here," she said softly. The anger from the phone call was gone from her voice, replaced only by deep exhaustion. Zhou Yuan's gaze drifted past her and landed on the bed. In that moment, his heart nearly stopped. Shun Yin lay there, so emaciated she was almost unrecognizable. Her cheeks were sunken. Her once thick black hair now clung sparsely to her scalp, and her arms were covered in tubes. But it was her, his Shun Yin, the lover he thought had abandoned him. How is she? Zhou Yuan's voice was shattered. "Not good," Su Yuan said, wiping the corner of her eye. "The doctor says it might be a matter of days." Zhou Yuan walked slowly to the bedside, his legs giving way as he knelt on the floor. He carefully held Shun Yin's hand. That hand, once warm and soft, was now bony and terrifyingly cold. "Nian, I'm here." His tears fell onto the back of her hand. Shun Yin's eyes slowly opened. At first, she looked dazed, but then her eyes suddenly widened. "Yuan." Her voice was so weak it was barely audible. "Why are you here? You shouldn't have come." Su Yuan told me. Zhou Yuan pressed her hand against his face. "Why didn't you tell me the truth? Why did you invent that lie?" Tears welled up in Shun Yin's eyes, and she shook her head weakly. "I didn't want you to see me like this. You fool." Zhou Yuan's voice choked with emotion. "Did you think I could be happy without you? For these 3 months, I hated you every single day. I hated that Lin Xing who didn't even exist. Now I realize that I hate myself. I hate that I didn't see through your lie." Shun Yin's lips trembled, and tears slid from her temples into her hairline. "I'm sorry. I just didn't want you to suffer. It's being without you that makes me suffer." Zhou Yuan almost shouted, but immediately lowered his voice. "These past 3 months, I thought you didn't love me anymore. I thought I had been abandoned. That pain was 1,000, 10,000 times worse than this." Su Yuan stood to the side, covering her mouth as she wept silently. She finally understood the truth. Shun Yin had invented a non-existent old flame just to make Zhou Yuan leave, so she could face death alone. "I'll go ask the doctor about her condition," Su Yuan said softly, giving them some space. Shen closed her eyes, tears streaming down her face. I am very ugly. Now, no. Zhou Yuan gently stroked her face. You are the most beautiful person I have ever seen, and you always have been. He took the ring box he had been carrying with him out of his pocket. Look, I had planned to propose on your birthday. He opened the box. The diamond twinkled with a gentle glow under the ward's lights. Now, Shen Yin, will you marry me? Shen Yin looked at the ring and suddenly burst into tears, a gut-wrenching sob she had been holding back for a long time. Yes, Yi Do. I always have. Zhou Yuan carefully slid the ring onto her finger, then leaned down to gently embrace her. We'll face this together, okay? No more lies, no more separation. Shen Yin nodded in his arms, her frail body trembling from her sobbing. I am scared, she whispered. I know, my love, I know. Zhou Yuan kissed her forehead. But I will be here with you until the very last moment, and even longer. Outside the window, the night was deep and the stars were dim. But inside this small hospital room, there was a light more dazzling than the diamond. It was the purest form of love, one that never flinched or changed, even in the face of death. They hadn't seen each other for 3 months, and the disease had drained away most of her vitality, but he could still see in her face the girl he had fallen in love with at first sight. Shen Yin's eyelids fluttered a few times before slowly opening. Her gaze was unfocused, taking a few seconds to fix upon Zhou Yuan's face. Good morning. Zhou Yuan forced a smile, his voice as soft as if he were coaxing a child. Did you sleep well? Shen Yin nodded slightly, the corners of her mouth twitching into a weak smile. He poured a glass of water and carefully fed her a few sips. Are you hungry? Should I go buy you something to eat? Shen Yin shook her head, her gaze falling upon the finger wearing the ring. She raised her hand. The diamond twinkled faintly in the morning light. It's so beautiful. When you get better, we'll pick out a bigger one. Zhou Yuan held her hand and pressed a light kiss against it. A trace of pain flashed through Shen Yin's eyes, and she lowered her eyelids. Yuan, don't speak. Zhou Yuan interrupted her. The weather is nice today. Shall I take you out for a walk? When the nurse came in for rounds, she helped Shen Yin change into a clean hospital gown. Zhou Yuan noticed the large bruises and needle marks on her back, and his stomach knotted in pain. He borrowed a wheelchair and lifted her into it with extreme care, terrified of hurting her fragile body. There were several ginkgo trees in the hospital courtyard, their leaves drifting down with the wind. Zhou Yuan pushed the wheelchair along the gravel path, occasionally leaning down to whisper trivial small talk in Shen Yin's ear. Shen Yin listened quietly, occasionally smiling. When they reached the tallest tree, Zhou Yuan stopped the wheelchair and crouched down in front of her. Do you remember our first date? It was under a ginkgo tree. He spoke softly. You wore a white dress, had a small clip in your hair, and you were so nervous you kept twisting your fingers. Shen Yin's eyes lit up, and she nodded. We're late. 10 minutes. Because I changed outfits 3 times, Zhou Yuan admitted with a smile. I wanted so badly to make a good impression on you. A ginkgo leaf landed on Shen Yin's knee. She gently picked it up and placed it in her palm. Those were good times. Zhou Yuan's throat tightened. He held her hand, enclosing the leaf within his palm. It's wonderful now, too. As long as I'm with you, any time is wonderful. Shen Yin's tears fell onto their clasped hands. Zhou Yuan leaned forward to embrace her, feeling her frail body trembling in his arms. Her bony shoulders dug painfully into his chest. The once soft curves were now nothing but jagged bones. I missed you so much, Shen Yin whispered in his ear, her voice broken. These past 3 months, every day, I wanted to tell you the truth. Zhou Yuan held her tighter, burying his face in the crook of her neck, breathing in her familiar scent mixed with the smell of medicine. Me too. Every day I missed you, hated you, and loved you. When they returned to the ward, Su Yuan was already waiting there, holding a thermos container. Seeing them, her expression grew complex for a moment before she quickly replaced it with a smile. I made porridge, your favorite pork and century egg porridge, she said to Shen Yin, then looked at Zhou Yuan. The doctor said she needs nutrition, but it shouldn't be too greasy. Zhou Yuan nodded and took the thermos. Su Yuan stood to the side, looking as if she wanted to speak but stopped herself. Yuan. Shen Yin called out weakly. Thank you for always taking care of me. Su Yuan's eyes immediately reddened. Don't say that. Didn't we agree to be best friends for life? She walked over to the wheelchair and held Shen Yin's other hand. You have to get well soon. We still need to travel together to go see the northern lights in Iceland like you always wanted. Shen Yin smiled and nodded, but Zhou Yuan caught the glimpse of desolation in her eyes. He knew she realized she wouldn't wait until the day she could see the northern lights. After Su Yuan left, Zhou Yuan fed Shen Yin poured spoonful by spoonful. She ate very slowly, stopping to catch her breath after every few swallows. After half a bowl, she shook her head to indicate she had had enough. Just a little more? Zhou Yuan urged softly. Shen Yin's brow suddenly furrowed, and her body leaned forward. Zhou Yuan hurriedly grabbed the basin by the bed and supported her as she vomited. By the time she calmed down, Shen Yin was completely exhausted, her face ashen. I'm sorry, she whispered, tears welling in her eyes. Sure, it's okay. Zhou Yuan gently wiped her face with a damp towel. Do you want to rest for a while? Shen Yin nodded, and Zhou Yuan carefully helped her lie down. She fell asleep quickly, her breathing shallow and unsteady. Zhou Yuan sat by the bed, watching the medicine drip drop by drop inside the 4-tube, as if counting down the little time she had left. At dusk, Shen Yin's attending physician came for rounds. He called Zhou Yuan into the hallway, his expression serious. You are Ms. Shen's fiancé, Zhou Yuan answered without hesitation. The doctor nodded, flipping through the medical records. Ms. Shen's condition is not optimistic. The cancer cells have metastasized to multiple organs. Current treatment is mainly focused on alleviating pain. How much time does she have? Zhou Yuan asked directly, his voice low. The doctor fell silent for a moment. At the current rate of deterioration, maybe about a week. If there is massive hemorrhaging or organ failure, it could be sooner. Zhou Yuan felt a wave of dizziness. He held onto the wall and took several deep breaths to steady himself. Can she go home? I mean, for the final time. Theoretically, yes, but she requires professional nursing. I suggest staying in the hospital. We have comprehensive pain management measures here. When he returned to the ward, Shen Yin was awake, gazing blankly at the sunset glow outside the window. Hearing footsteps, she turned her head and smiled at Zhou Yuan. What did the doctor say? She asked, though she seemed to have already guessed the answer from Zhou Yuan's expression. Zhou Yuan sat by the bed and held her hand. He said, we can consider going home. Shen Yin's eyes lit up. Really? I don't want to die in the hospital. Don't say that. Zhou Yuan almost shouted, then immediately lowered his voice. You will get better. Shen Yin gently shook her head, her fingers caressing his cheek. Yuan, we both know the truth. Zhou Yuan could no longer hold it back, and tears burst from his eyes. He leaned over and embraced Shen Yin, his shoulders trembling violently. Why? Why didn't you tell me sooner? I could have faced this with you. Shen Yin patted his back gently, like comforting a child. Because I didn't want to see you like this. That night, Zhou Yuan insisted on staying in the ward. The nurse brought in a cot, but for most of the time, he sat by Shen Yin's bedside, watching her sleep. In the middle of the night, Shen Yin suddenly startled awake, breathing rapidly. What's wrong? Where does it hurt? Zhou Yuan immediately turned on the bedside lamp. Shen Yin's eyes were filled with fear. She grabbed Zhou Yuan's hand with surprising strength. I dreamed. You left, and I was left alone again. Zhou Yuan held her tightly. I'm here. I'm not going anywhere. I swear. Shen Yin gradually calmed down in his embrace. Zhou Yuan stroked her back and hummed the song that played on their first date. Shen Yin's breathing became even. Before falling asleep again, she murmured indistinctly, the white moonlight has always been you. Zhou Yuan froze, looking down at her, but Shen Yin had already closed her eyes. He sat in the darkness and suddenly understood the meaning behind the fictional name Lin Xing. Lin Xing, a homophone for impending departure. The white moonlight she had fabricated had actually been me all along. The next morning, Su Yuan brought a paper bag containing a few of Shun Yin's personal items, her hairbrush, a photo album, and a few hair ties. I thought she might want these. Su Yuan whispered to Zhou Yuan, then hesitated for a moment. I went to her apartment yesterday to pick up some things, and I found this. She took a notebook out of her bag. The cover was a pale blue, Shun Yin's favorite color. It was in the drawer by her bed. I think you should see it. Zhou Yuan took the notebook and opened the first page. It was Shun Yin's handwriting. The date was from 3 months ago, the day they broke up. Diagnosed today. Late-stage lung cancer, already metastasized. The doctor says 6 months at most. The first person I thought of was Yuan. What'll he do? I can't let him watch me slowly die. That would be too cruel to him. I have to think of a way to make him leave. Zhou Yuan's hands began to tremble. He quickly scanned the following entries, every page feeling like a knife stabbing into his heart. Made up a story about a childhood sweetheart. I hope he believes it. Seeing the pain in his eyes, I almost gave up, but I have to keep going. Better a short pain than a long one. He will hate me, but that's better than watching me die. Coughed up blood again today. My hair is starting to fall out in clumps. Luckily, Yuan isn't here. He loved my hair the most. Sometimes it hurts so much I can't sleep all night. So I think about every little moment we had together. It's my only comfort. Yuan asked me why Yuan doesn't come to visit. I could only say he's busy with work. She didn't seem to believe me, but she didn't ask any more questions. I feel so sorry for making her take care of me alone. Her own wedding preparations are being delayed. The last entry was dated 3 days ago, the handwriting already becoming crooked and weak, getting weaker and weaker. It's hard to even speak. I don't know how much longer I can hold on. Sometimes I regret it and want to hear Yuan's voice, but I pick up the phone and put it down again. He's probably started a new life by now, right? I hope he's happy. It's just, I really want to see him one last time. A teardrop fell onto the page. Zhou Yuan wiped it away in a panic, terrified of smudging Shun Yin's handwriting. He hugged the notebook tightly against his chest, as if that could bring him closer to her. Thank you, he said to Su Yuan, his voice hoarse. This means a lot to me. Su Yuan nodded, tears in her eyes. I'll go ask the doctor about transferring hospitals. Shun Yin has been saying she wants to go home. Zhou Yuan returned to the ward. Shun Yin was washing up with the help of a nurse. When she saw him enter, her eyes lit up. Good morning, she mouthed, her voice barely audible. Zhou Yuan walked to the bedside, bent down, and kissed her forehead. Good morning, my love. After the nurse left, Zhou Yuan took out the notebook. Read this. Shun Yin's expression was first one of surprise, then understanding, and finally tinged with a hint of shyness. She lowered her eyes and nodded gently. Why did you do this? Zhou Yuan asked softly, though he already knew the answer. Shun Yin took a deep breath, trying to make her voice clear. Didn't want to be a burden to you. You are never a burden. Zhou Yuan held her hand. To love someone is to be willing to bear everything about them, including the pain. Shun Yin's tears rolled down. But I couldn't bear to see you suffer. Zhou Yuan placed the notebook on the bedside table and gently embraced her. Now that I know, I won't leave again. Whether there is 1 day left, 1 hour, or 1 minute, I will be with you. That afternoon, with the doctor's permission, they began preparing the discharge paperwork. Zhou Yuan took a long leave of absence, deciding to take Shun Yin back to his apartment. He bought the best medical bed and prepared various painkillers and care supplies. Su Yuan helped a great deal, contacting a home care nurse and organizing a detailed medication list. Call me anytime if anything happens, 24 hours a day, she said seriously to Zhou Yuan. At dusk, as the setting sun dyed half the sky red, Zhou Yuan carefully lifted Shun Yin into a wheelchair and pushed her through the hospital corridor. Medical staff and patients cast glances their way, some with sympathy, some with concern, and some with blessings. Ready? Let's go home, Zhou Yuan whispered in Shun Yin's ear. Shun Yin nodded, her eyes shining with anticipation. Zhou Yuan suddenly remembered when they moved into their first apartment 3 years ago. Shun Yin had been just as excited, running from room to room, planning where to put the sofa and where to place the bookshelf. But now, she leaned weakly against the wheelchair, without even the strength to lift her hand. Zhou Yuan clenched his teeth, suppressing the bitterness surging in his heart. The taxi stopped in front of Zhou Yuan's apartment building. He carefully picked up Shun Yin, holding her as if she were a fragile treasure. As the elevator ascended, Shun Yin leaned against his chest and whispered, "Do you remember the first time we took the elevator together?" Zhou Yuan smiled. "You were so nervous you kept staring at the floor numbers, afraid to make eye contact with me. Because you were so handsome." Shun Yin smiled faintly. The apartment door opened, and Zhou Yuan carried Shun Yin inside. He had made a point of buying fresh flowers to place in every corner and had lit her favorite scented candles. Sunlight streamed through the floor-to-ceiling windows, bathing everything in a golden halo. "Welcome home," Zhou Yuan said softly, placing her gently onto the sofa, which was lined with soft cushions. Shun Yin looked around, her gaze lingering on every detail. The photos of them on the wall, her favorite books on the shelf, the small succulents on the windowsill. Finally, her eyes rested on the bouquet of sunflowers on the dining table. "You remembered?" "Of course I remember." Zhou Yuan crouched down in front of her. "On our first date, I was late and just grabbed a random bouquet at the flower shop. It happened to be sunflowers. You told me it was the first time you'd ever received flowers, and you were as happy as a child." Tears welled up in Shun Yin's eyes. "I kept that flower for so long. Even after it dried out, I couldn't bear to throw it away." Zhou Yuan kissed her fingers. "From now on, I'll give you sunflowers every year on your birthday." Shun Yin suddenly began to cough violently, and Zhou Yuan hurriedly supported her. When the coughing subsided, her breathing was rapid and shallow, and her face had grown even paler. Zhou Yuan took out the painkillers prescribed by the doctor and carefully helped her take them. "Do you want to rest? The bed is ready." Shun Yin shook her head and pointed toward the balcony. "I want to watch the sunset." Zhou Yuan picked her up and walked out onto the balcony. The sun had already sunk toward the city skyline, dyeing the clouds a brilliant orange red. Shun Yin leaned against his chest and whispered, "It's so beautiful." "Yes, it is," Zhou Yuan said, looking at her, not the sunset. Night fell, and Shun Yin's energy seemed completely spent. Zhou Yuan helped her change into comfortable pajamas and gently carried her to bed. He lay down beside her, carefully gathering her into his arms, terrified of hurting her. "I'm cold," Shun Yin whispered, shrinking deeper into his embrace. Zhou Yuan pulled the duvet over, wrapping her more tightly. "Is that better?" Shun Yin nodded and closed her eyes. Zhou Yuan looked at her gaunt face, her long lashes casting shadows beneath her eyes. He began to hum softly. It was the old song they had danced to for the first time. The corners of Shun Yin's mouth turned up slightly, and she slowly drifted off to sleep amidst the melody. Zhou Yuan remained awake all night, just watching her, listening to her faint breathing, feeling her weak heartbeat, cherishing every minute and every second. Zhou Yuan opened his sore, stinging eyes. He hadn't slept all night, simply watching Shun Yin in silence, afraid to miss even the slightest change in her expression. Shun Yin was still asleep, her breathing so shallow that the rise and fall of her chest was barely visible. Shun Yin's eyelids fluttered a few times before slowly opening. Her gaze was somewhat unfocused, taking a few seconds to settle on Zhou Yuan's face. "Good morning." Zhou Yuan forced a smile, his voice as gentle as if he were coaxing a child. "Did you sleep well?" Shun Yin nodded slightly. She tried to speak, but suddenly broke into a violent coughing fit. Zhou Yuan hurriedly helped her sit up and gently patted her back. When the coughing subsided, Shun Yin's breathing became ragged, and her face grew even paler. "I'll go call the private doctor." Zhou Yuan stood up, but Shun Yin caught the hem of his shirt. "No need," she said with difficulty. "It's often like this." Zhou Yuan sat back down on the edge of the bed, his heart clenching with pain. He poured a glass of water and carefully helped her drink a few sips. "Are you hungry? Shall I make you something to eat?" A trace of pain flashed through Shun Yin's eyes, and she lowered her gaze. "Yuan, don't say it." Zhou Yuan interrupted her. "The weather is wonderful today. Why don't we go sit on the balcony?" He carefully lifted Shun Yin into her wheelchair and pushed her out onto the sun-drenched balcony. The May breeze carrying the scent of flowers, gently brushed against their faces. Shen Yin closed her eyes, savoring this rare moment of tranquility. Do you remember? The first time we watched the sunrise together. Shen Yin spoke suddenly, her voice weak but clear. Zhou Yuan smiled. On a mountain peak. You were shivering from the cold, so I gave you my jacket. I ended up with a cold for a week. The corners of Shen Yin's mouth lifted slightly. The way you sneeze is so cute. They reminisced about the little moments of the past, sometimes smiling, sometimes shedding tears. Zhou Yuan clasped Shen Yin's hand in his palm, feeling her faint pulse, as if doing so could halt the march of time. The sun gradually sank below the horizon, turning the sky a deep purple. Yin, is there anything you want to do? Anything at all? Shen Yin's lips moved, and Zhou Yuan leaned his ear close. I want to see the sunrise. With you. One last time. Shen Yin's breathing became shallower and slower. Yuan. She spoke suddenly, her voice surprisingly clear. My white moonlight has always been you. Zhou Yuan held her tightly, feeling her weak heartbeat. I know, Yin, I know. Forget me. Fine. A good woman. No. Zhou Yuan's voice shattered. I won't forget. Shen Yin sighed softly in his arms, as if in relief, or perhaps contentment. Her body gradually relaxed, her breathing slowed, and finally quietly stopped. Zhou Yuan sat there, holding her gradually cooling body, watching the last ray of sunlight vanish from the sky. He didn't cry, didn't scream. He just sat quietly, as if doing so could freeze time, could make her stay a little longer, even for just a second. 3 days later, Shen Yin's funeral was held on a drizzly morning. Zhou Yuan stood before the tombstone, looking at the photo of Shen Yin smiling. It was a candid shot he had taken on their first date. She was smiling so brilliantly, so carelessly. Su Yuan stood beside him, holding a black umbrella. Not many people attended the funeral, mostly Shen Yin's colleagues and a few university classmates. Zhou Yuan mechanically accepted everyone's condolences, yet couldn't remember a single word. After everyone had left, Zhou Yuan remained standing before the grave, the rain soaking his hair and clothes. Was she in pain at the end? Su Yuan asked softly. Zhou Yuan shook his head. It was very peaceful, as if she had fallen asleep. Zhou Yuan added, that's just the kind of person she was. She'd rather bear everything herself than let others worry. He pulled a small box from his pocket and opened it to reveal the engagement ring. She didn't want to be buried wearing it, but I think it should stay here with her. Su Yuan nodded. Zhou Yuan crouched down and placed the ring before the tombstone. Goodbye, my love, he whispered, then turned and walked away. Returning to the empty apartment, Zhou Yuan stood at the doorway. In a trance, he seemed to see Shen Yin sitting on the sofa, turning back to smile at him. But in the blink of an eye, the illusion vanished, leaving only silence and memories. He began to sort through Shen Yin's belongings. A few clothes, some skincare products, and that pale blue notebook. When he picked up the notebook, a photo slipped out from inside. It was a photo of them together. On the back, it was written, To Yuan, my white moonlight, my one and only. Love you forever, Yin. Zhou Yuan fell to his knees and finally broke down, weeping uncontrollably. All the pain, longing, and reluctance poured out like a bursting dam. Unknown how long he cried, Zhou Yuan leaned exhaustedly against the side of the bed. His gaze fell upon the desk, where his laptop sat. A thought suddenly flashed through his mind. He opened the computer and clicked on a rarely used folder. Inside was a video file, dated the day they broke up. Zhou Yuan clicked play with trembling hands. Shen Yin's face appeared on the screen. At that time, she wasn't as gaunt yet, but the signs of illness were already visible. She smiled at the camera, tears in her eyes. Yuan. The Shen Yin in the video spoke, her voice gentle. If you're seeing this video, it means I'm no longer here. I'm sorry I lied to you. There was no one else, there never was. My white moonlight has always been you from the first day we met. Zhou Yuan's tears welled up again. He reached out to touch the screen, as if he could touch her that way. I didn't know how to face you, watching you worry about me, suffer for me. So I chose the most cowardly way, to let you hate me, rather than be sad for me. Shen Yin wiped away her tears and forced a smile. But please remember, I never stopped loving you. Not even for a minute. The video continued to play. Shen Yin talked about a lot of things. She remembered every date, every argument, every reconciliation. She said how grateful she was to fate for letting them meet, and how regretful she was that she couldn't walk with him to the end. Don't be sad for me for too long, okay? As the video drew to a close, Shen Yin said, I want you to be happy. I want you to find someone who loves you and live the life we once dreamed of. I also have a somewhat selfish request. If you could just think of me occasionally and remember that there was once a girl who loved you so much, that would be enough. The video ended, and the screen went black. Zhou Yuan sat there, unable to move for a long time. Outside the window, the rain had stopped. A ray of sunlight broke through the clouds, falling upon the photo frame at the head of the bed. It was a picture of them at the beach last summer, smiling so happily, so carefree. Zhou Yuan picked up the frame and gently wiped it. He knew that the road ahead was long, and that the pain would not vanish overnight. But what Shen Yin had left him was not merely sorrow, but love. That pure, fearless, self-sacrificing love was enough to illuminate the path for the rest of his life. I will never forget you, Yin, he whispered to the empty room. And I don't want to forget you. Sunlight gradually filled the entire room, warm and bright. Zhou Yuan stood in the light and closed his eyes, as if he could feel Shen Yin right beside him, there forever.